What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my picks for MLB
Monday, September 21st.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's MLB slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made.
Okay guys, let's take a look at this 6-game main slate. At the pitcher position, I'm going to give you a stud, and then I'm going to give you a lower salary pitcher, but we can't ignore this stud on the slate here. I like Jacob deGrom with a 7% pitching advantage over the Tampa Bay Rays. He's only giving up a .529 OPS versus lefties. He pitches his best ball versus lefty batters, and he's facing 5 lefties here tonight. On top of that, the Rays have only hit 5 of his last 18 pitches, batting a .278 batting average. It's a somewhat small sample size though, so it's hard to go by that. But he's $11,500 FanDuel salary and $1,000 less on DraftKings. He has an ERA of 2.09. His record is 4-1 on the season, pitching an average of 91 pitches per game, averaging 42 fantasy points per game. He scored 0, 52, and 64 fantasy points in the last 3 games. Now, the reason he scored 0 fantasy points last game is because he left the game with right hamstring spasm, but he's good to go tonight. So I like Jacob deGrom here versus the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, if you want to pay down at pitcher, take a look at Lance McCullers Jr. with a 9% pitching advantage over a low salary batting team, the Seattle Mariners. Lance McCullers Jr., he's only giving up a .764 OPS versus righties, and he's facing 6 righties here tonight. On top of that, the Mariners have only hit 13 of his last 49 pitches, batting a .265 batting average, and he's only $8,700 FanDuel salary and $400 less on DraftKings. He has an ERA of 4.87. His record is 3-2 on the season, pitching an average of 80 pitches per game, averaging 24 fantasy points per game. But take a look at his last 3 games here. He scored 49, -9, and 46 fantasy points in his last 3 games. So he's got some major upside. Of course, he's also a risk in some games, but that's why you're paying much less salary for him. He's projected at 29 fantasy points here tonight, and he scored 32, 40, 25, 61, and 42 fantasy points in the last 5 games versus the Seattle Mariners. So I like Lance McCullers Jr. here versus the Seattle Mariners. Okay, let's take a look at the first base position. I like Brandon Belt with a 30% batting advantage over German Marquez. Brandon Belt is batting 29% better versus righty pitchers. He's batting a .915 OPS versus righties. And German Marquez, he's giving up a .710 OPS versus lefties. Now, Brandon Belt is 8 for 19, batting a .421 batting average and a 1.134 OPS versus Marquez. He's $3,000 FanDuel salary. He's $200 more on DraftKings, so I like that price on both sites. He's averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 22, 6, and 0 fantasy points in the last 3 games, projected at 10.1 fantasy points here tonight. So I like Brandon Belt here versus German Marquez. Okay, let's take a look at the second base position. I'm going to give you a value play here. I like Colton Wong with an 18% batting advantage over a low salary pitcher, Carlos Hernandez. Colton Wong He's batting a .721 OPS versus righties. And Carlos Hernandez throws 19% worse versus lefties as he does righties, giving up a .800 OPS versus lefties. There's no at-bats versus Hernandez yet, and Kolten Wong is $2,700 FanDuel salary and $1,500 more on DraftKings. He's averaging 8 fantasy points per game on the season, but he scored 15, 7, and 22 fantasy points in the last 3 games, projected at 10.6 fantasy points here tonight. So I like Kolten Wong here versus Carlos Hernandez.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, who do we have at the third base position? I like Alex Bregman with a 25% batting advantage over Marco Gonzalez. Alex Bregman is batting 31% better versus lefty pitchers. He's batting a 1.136 OPS versus lefties. Marco Gonzalez, he does throw his best ball versus righties, giving up a .677 OPS versus righties. But I like this pick because Alex Bregman is 7 for 19, batting a .368 batting average and a .926 OPS versus Gonzalez. He's $3,600 FanDuel salary and $1,300 more on DraftKings. He's averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 12, 0, and 0 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I think he bounces back here tonight. He's projected at 11.4 fantasy points here tonight. So I like Alex Bregman here versus Marco Gonzalez. Okay, let's take a look at the shortstop position. I'm going to give you another value play here. I like Brandon Crawford with a 16% batting advantage over German Marquez. Brandon Crawford is batting 15% better versus righty pitchers. He's batting a .770 OPS versus righties. And German Marquez is giving up a .710 OPS versus lefties. But I like this pick here because Brandon Crawford is 9 for 22 with a .409 batting average and a 1.094 OPS versus Marquez. And he's only $2,700 FanDuel salary and $1,300 more on DraftKings. He's averaging 9 fantasy points per game on the season, but he's been on fire, scoring 38, 9, and 7 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I like Brandon Crawford here versus German Marquez. Okay, moving on to the outfield position. I like Starling Marte with a 3% batting advantage over a low salary pitcher, Huascar Yona. Starling Marte bats 11% better versus righty pitchers. He's batting a .844 OPS versus righties. And Huascar Yona, he's giving up a 1.042 OPS versus righties. Starling Marte is $3,200 FanDuel salary and $2,400 more on DraftKings. So I like that FanDuel price. He's averaging 11 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 0, 9, and 12 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He's projected at 13.8 fantasy points here tonight. So I like Starling Marte here versus Huascar Yona.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this MLB slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.